All right, everyone. How's it going today? T and Mortgage Podcast, episode number 23 with your host, John Coleman.
Hey, how are you? Thanks, Norm. Number 23. Who would have thought of it? Looking forward to discussing the common mistakes that people make. And I suppose the aim here today is to help people get ready for 2025. I hate when I'm saying that year, but anyway.
Well, wonderful. Yeah. So we're going to talk a lot about the common mistakes that you see over and over again that could actually come back to bite people or even hold them back from getting a mortgage and buying. And it's such a long process there in Ireland that it's so important you do everything correctly, because one misstep on the bank statement or one, timing error, and they could actually disqualify themselves from buying, huh?
Correct. That's very, very true.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of this. First off, big picture. You've been doing this more than 20 years. How many people do you think you've spoken to about a mortgage, and how many people have you actually helped close a mortgage? These are probably big numbers.
Oh my God. And I couldn't put a number on it, or I would say we're helping about, let's do the maths on this. I've never thought in those terms, because you deal with people on a one-on-one basis. So it's very much I'm helping you. I'm not viewing you as part of a bigger number, but I would, from a business point of view, I'd know we'd probably help maybe 200 people a year buy a home. If you multiplied that by 20, I'm being modest to myself, how long have we did? Now, there were a few years where there was no business being done, so
yeah. And that's like 4,000 closed loans, give or take, right?
Give or take.
I'm guessing you probably speak to 20 people for every closed loan, right?
Well, no, it's not. I would hope it's less than that, because ultimately then that's not a very efficient use of my time. But it's certainly not every single person I talk to do I help, that's for sure, because either people want to do it directly or you're not ready, and it doesn't. So I would obviously try to help as many people as we possibly can. God, Norm, you're hurting my head asking that question. The truth be told, because it one-on-one is I deal with each person as and when they come my way, and I don't ever look at it as a sort of oh my God, this is one person towards a bigger number, because you kind of have to treat every client as if it's your first and every client as if it's your last. I think if you take that view, the numbers take care of themselves, really,
Yeah, absolutely. But so the point I wanted to make too is that you've actually spoken to or had a file open or helped or closed loans for a whole lot of people, thousands of people, we could confidently say. So I'm guessing you see the same 3, 4, 5, 6 mistakes over and over and over.
Absolutely. I suppose if I was to give you there, in terms of the cardinal mistakes, and then the kind of minor ones that can be fixed with a little bit of tender loving care, shall we call it, right? The cardinal mistake, again, is people trying to buy a house without knowing where they stand. Do you understand? Whereby they just think the bank are going to give them money and they're not ready, okay? Either they don't fully understand how much they're earning and how the banks will view it. That for me is a huge one. Like, people can be earning X amount of money, but if it's structured in a kind of an overtime bonus, in that type of way, rather than just basic salary, they might think their banks, there's a sort of a rule of thumb that's out there that's slightly misleading. Oh, I get 4 times my salary. Well, I'm earning 100,000. Well, if it's 50, it's not quite as simple as that. So not educating themselves properly to understand where they're at can lead to a lot of disappointment. So you know how heavily I promote the roadmap that we do in terms of a starting point. So whether it be going directly into a bank, talking to another broker, talking to ourselves, before you begin out on the journey, you need to get, like, the devil is always in the detail, right? And knowing the minute detail as to where you're at and going to the bother of actually teasing all that out, that's for me is the most important starting point, and it can save so much time and cause so much, save so many problems where you think, I want to buy a house. Like I have people coming to me, they've agreed to buy a house and they're nowhere near ready, right? And then suddenly, oh,
Yeah.
but I'm so for me, I'm not saying talk to me, I'm just saying educate yourself first and foremost. That to me, even though it sounds like not a mistake per se, an individual mistake, it's the fundamentals of where knowing where you're at is the biggest mistake that I would see happening.
Yeah, interesting. And I know that's why the roadmap is so important, right? If you to use that metaphor, if you don't have that map, then you're just sort of wandering around and backtracking, and your timing is messed up, and it's definitely a process where need to have every step in sequence correctly. What about with bank accounts? What are some of the biggest mistakes?
My that's my biggest, what shall we say, pet talk, right? And there's two elements to the bank accounts. I'll go to them in terms of where the bigger mistakes are made. Kind of, well, not keeping your bank accounts clean. Okay, um, people getting money in from friends, sending money to friends, sending money out of the country. All these things lead to questions. Basically, running an overdraft in your account, missing recurring kind of direct debits being missed. That all adds to, like, let's give you kind of an overview as to how the banks will look at an application, right? They want to,
Mhm.
they look at initially, how much will I lend that person? Okay, that's grounded based on income. Okay, that's tick one. Okay, but that can't be changed. But you just need to understand where you are in that. Then the next thing is, okay, we want to lend to people who can manage their accounts properly. Okay, it's so that there's money coming in, going out, um, living in an overdraft. It's not giving off that sense of the profile of someone who looks after their money properly. Okay, so
Mhm.
keeping a clean bank accounts is what I would call the the biggest mistake people make. They think, oh, well, I'm paying rent, I'm saving, but they're sending money, they're taking money out, they're buying a car, they're doing all sorts of things that just creates a problem. In real terms, it should. uh, Life will continue before and after you've got a house, and these things do happen. But
Yeah.
when you're planning to buy a house, you need to kind of be cognizant of the fact that I need my bank accounts to look as if we're monks, basically, as if we live a very boring life. We get up, we go to work, we don't gamble, we don't party. I know I'm killing the joy of life here, by the way, but
Yeah.
it is all about how the bank accounts look. So that will be
Yeah.
the biggest mistake. Then the next kind of related piece to that relates to the ability to repay. Okay, so you need to be able to show most of the banks that, hold on, I'm going to borrow X, my repayments are going to be between 1,500 and 2,000 a month, whatever they may be. How can I prove to the banks that I can do that? So, say for example, people are paying rent, but they're paying by cash, or they're paying it to a family member. Well, that kills that automatically. Okay, so you kind of
Yeah.
need to be careful how you're demonstrating your rent. Paying it to family is a real no-no, even though it shouldn't be. The banks take a dim view at. Now there is one new bank that has come to the market that isn't as worried about that, but I still want to be able to give my clients as much choice as possible. So it's really, really important that they are keeping their bank accounts clean, and then that they are being able to clearly demonstrate to any individual who's looking at your bank accounts over the previous 6 months that you can meet the repayments of a mortgage.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, and that's one of the big mistakes people make. What about when it comes to actually the property and negotiation and the seller? I know you have some really good strategies, but on the flip side, you see people sort of shoot themselves in the foot and negotiate against themselves too often. That's one of the
Yeah,
mistakes, right?
and this is such an easy mistake to make, and it's completely understandable. Like you don't buy a house every day of the week; it's a once or a twice in a lifetime kind of experience, right? So
Yeah.
it's an incredibly you're not thinking, it's not that you're going out to a shop and you're kind of haggling, looking to get the best possible deal. This is very emotional. You're seeing your future life there. You're seeing your kids going up there. You're seeing where's the school. So you can almost picture life for the next 10 years or so in this place, right? So you can, for me, the biggest mistake people make in these instances is bidding too quickly, right? Whereby they're actually going in, they see a house the weekend, they discuss it with each other, and they go, right, we want that, right? We're bidding on that Monday morning, right? And I gotta go. My advice on that is, hold on, wait. Like, even though that's what you want to do, it's not always in your best interest, okay? Because if, for example, if there's bidding the following, sorry, if there's viewings the following weekend, well, if you put a bid in now, unless you're going to put a bid in that's going to scare everyone off, right? All that's going to be done with your bid is it's going to be used against you, because then they'll show it to the next person. Say, by the way, we already have X on the market. So it's a game that needs to be played. The advice I try to give to people on this is try to close it early. So try to cut a deal with the agent, saying, listen, what will it take if they really want it?
Yeah.
Close it early, or come in and try and steal it off someone else at the end. Okay, that sounds terrible, by the way, but it is you are competing. This one's obviously for second-hand houses. You are competing with other people. So if you need to kind of try to do it early or come in at the end and steal it, anything in between is kind of, in my opinion, a mistake. Now, that advice is very generic and general. Each sale has its own characteristics. So I wouldn't want to say to people, listen to me and you'll absolutely get the house, right? But what I would say to people is, take this advice on board and it'll stop you making mistakes, and it'll give you possibly the best opportunity to make it happen. Doesn't mean you're going to make it happen, right? But at least you won't cost yourself the opportunity by putting a bid in too early,
No, it's awesome. Yeah, good information. And any other big mistakes that jump out at you, or even mistakes that aren't common, but you've seen someone really screw themselves?
Well,
pardon my French.
Yeah, you're fine, mate. You should hear my language sometimes. But not on a podcast of this serious nature, the how would I well, these are kind of bank related, but I didn't highlight them any. Well, one, gambling is a real no-no on bank accounts, right?
Yeah.
So I would be strongly recommending, if you're betting, do it with cash. I'm not saying don't gamble. I have the odd bet myself, but from a mortgage point of view, it certainly isn't. It's not a good look at your bank accounts, right? And the other thing is, and it can cause a problem, if there was any credit issues in the past, whereby you might have had a revoked credit card or missed payments on particular loans. Really important to get a proper handle of that from the get-go, okay? Because that can come back and bite, right? And you think everything's in good order, and then suddenly there was a credit issue in the past that you just ignored. That's a real. So if you've had any, and people forget, by the way, right? They forget that there were problems, and so if there's any niggling doubts in someone's mind, I would always suggest they run their own credit report. It's free, and it's a credit register, and they just Google that, and they'll be able to run their own free report, and get it back in a couple of days, and then they'll see what a bank, because the bank will run that every time, so they'll see what the bank will see. Okay, and obviously we're here to interpret it as well if necessary.
Oh, that's great information. To avoid those common mistakes, and even not so common but very impactful mistakes. And biggest thing they could do, the takeaway, is give you a call, have an advocate, someone who's done it thousands of times, like we've established, and have someone guiding you through the process to make sure you don't mess up. And so thank you, John, for that.
Not a problem. That's what we're here for.
All right, John, now on the Tea and Mortgage podcast, we might expand the name to the Tea and Mortgage and Squash podcast, because you're a lover of the sport. And I know you've said to me many times your life is a whole lot of work and just staying at home, but you relish the time of day when you could leave and go play squash and get a great workout and be competitive. So tell us a little about your love of squash.
Well, in fairness, I used to play a lot of, going back a while, I used to play tennis, I used to play badminton. Um, and then a friend of mine was just, before COVID came in, um, he said he was going for the squash. Did I want to come along? And I went along and I haven't stopped playing since. So that's kind of 5 years. Now, I was told by a doctor, right, that it's stupidest thing for a middle-aged man to take up squash, right? And within 6 months of playing, I was banjaxed for a while. But during COVID, I started going to a physio, which was my outlet to get out of the house. And I've
Mm.
kept him. I go to him twice a week, so he's kept me as flexible as possible, basically. And I'm being relatively injury free from playing it, and I play it maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I have a guy that I take lessons from, and I am very competitive. So this guy is amazing. The guy I give the lessons to, like he far superior to me, but he structures the lesson in a way whereby he can only do certain things and I can do everything. So it keeps me, feels like I'm competing with him. Where in truth, if he wanted to turn it on and make me feel like I was a 12-year-old, he could do it. But it's a fascinating game. It's really competitive. For me, the joy I get out of it is, well, I am, I might have mentioned once or twice, very competitive when it comes to sport. And my ego gets massaged when I can still beat these young fellas, but younger than me, So that fuels my ego on a daily basis, and just the exercise. I wouldn't be like I'm doing playing it 4 or 5 times a week, so it is my
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
of it. Yeah, but I find the thought of going to the gym on a daily basis challenging, shall we say? And I need someone. I need some competitive edge, or I need someone there to be accountable to. Like I go to the physio twice, and he does also a lot of exercise. But if I didn't have him, I like being accountable to another human being, if that makes any sense. Where if I'm just
Yeah.
accountable to myself, I'll be sitting on the couch watching garbage TV as a form of relaxation. So, um, now it did. I got hoodwinked into a friend of mine who's an acting guy actually. He was representing Ireland, I think, there's a kind of a master series of over 30 or under 40s, and he's very very good as well. On the same team with my coach. When I got hoodwinked into sponsoring them, there was a big tournament over, so they were all over with their Ireland and JC Mortgages sponsored by Jason Mortgage. So I'm not sure it was great for business, but it was great for my ego. So,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. But that's fun to have, especially as, you're a lot younger than me, but as we get not in
oh,
our
you're
20s
so
and
kind, mate. You're so kind.
uh, but you know what I mean? Like to have a sport or a exercise or, that you're really passionate about is so important because just going to the gym every day and just sitting there and going through the motions, it gets boring. It's hard. Like you said, there's no accountability sometimes. And it's just not really, doesn't give you a spark. So no matter what it is that you're into, some people it's rollerblading, some people it's swimming, some people,
I'm going to give you a laugh.
triathlons. It's,
No, I'm going to
uh,
cut across you for a second. One of the girls in my office just did the marathon there, right? And I was incredibly inspired by her, kind of, oh my God, just blown away. And she'd been injured during the year, and she overcame her injury and did it. And I was kind of, and after seeing her doing it, I was kind of watching her time that she was doing. I was like, oh, gee, I wonder could I do the marathon? I went into ChatGPT and I got a whole year plan. And then I was on my way down another game of squash. I said, what are you thinking? You hate
yeah.
running, right? So we parked the marathon idea for the moment anyway.
That's a big one. Yeah. When people hit middle age, that's sort of like the last throes of I could still do it. And I'm long past that delusion, but for me, it's the equivalent to your squash is probably boxing. The
Yeah, no, you
training,
do a lot of
I
that.
don't like being hit in the face. I'm not a big fan of that. And, but, just hitting the heavy bag, training, the movement. It's a really really great sport to keep going. It's easy on the joints if you do it right. So yeah, I love getting out of the house, similar to you, after just working crazy hours, but just getting out there and sweating and breathing and forgetting everything, huh?
Yeah, and that's the key. Obviously, we're dealing with when you're trying to help people buy a house, and so I take any kind of delays from the bank personally, as in because it's I'm the messenger, so you almost you take that on a very personal level, and people are when they're buying a home as well. It's so out of their comfort zones that they can get stressed. So they just put their stress onto you, and you take that personally, and then suddenly you just need a bit of at the end of the day get out and just switch off from a from a,
Yeah.
from a
And it's
mental
sort of
health
like
point of view. You
cleaning the
know?
slate, it's whether for people, some people it's meditation or yoga or, or exercise, but whatever you love and you're passionate about, where you could just sort of clear the mental or emotional slate is so important. So that's great. Yeah. One day I want to check it out. And I've never even seen squash in person. So one day I want to watch you play.
Okay, well, don't hold your breath, mate. In my head, I'm still good, but that could be delusional as well, you know.
Oh, I might. I didn't say I'm not going to bet against you, but I'll watch you and cheer you on. We're mates.
You'll support me, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, John. So that was episode number 23 of the Tea and Mortgage and Squash podcast. Though next month it won't be Squash podcast anymore. It was just temporary. But yeah, thanks so much. That was great info, and that was fun chatting with you.
Always, I hope people got some. Hope we didn't scare everyone off to the thoughts of how clean their bank accounts need to be and how they have to live like monks for the next 6 months of their lives. But still good information in there to take on board. And obviously, for any further clarification, you know where we are.